Yeah, I do live in Redcar, mate. It's like a small town as well, I think.
Ah, what's it near?
Like Yorkshire and Middlesbrough.
Oh,
It's like a small town. Basically, it's like Redcar and Cleveland. It's like one small town.
right. Did I tell you my mother was from Hull?
Yeah, he told me.
So, Nathan, what do you want to talk about this morning?
Well, I had to make sure this interview was private, mate. 'Cause I didn't want anyone else to know about it. I respect your privacy, mate. You know.
Okay,
This is what I had to ask your consent for because I didn't want to, disturb you anyone.
it's fine. Let's just go ahead.
Right, I some reason, right, I don't know what's caused it, right, but I some reason have the same common interest what you had.
Just a second, my dog is barking outside.
Okay.
Not very much. Okay, Nathan, run that by me again.
Right, what is remember, me and you have the same interest in common, don't we? Right?
Yeah,
Um, yes, I am seeking therapy help about the situation
therapy
because,
help?
yeah, and you're like the person you had an incident with when you were 5 years old. One of those therapy sessions where you discuss your issues,
Yeah,
right? That's who I'm
yeah.
seeing. Because not long ago, there was an incident that I did, right, which obviously I regret, but for some reason, something's caused me to do it in such a manner that it almost got me sentenced to prison for it.
What did you do?
Um, I can't really say on it because what it is, it's just too personal for me to say online.
Okay, sure. But it almost got you sent to prison?
Yes, almost. It was a family kind of thing, so
Hmm.
we kept it between like just family only.
Yeah, I understand. No problem. I didn't let my family know about my inclinations until after I found out that the dolphin had died. My parents were pretty shocked. I think they were very liberal people, supposedly,
Hmm.
but not that liberal.
It's sad to see a dolphin commit suicide. It is.
It's sad to see what?
Well, to see a dolphin commit suicide there again, it's the first time I've actually encountered, such a, an incident like that. You know,
Hmm.
like yeah, I do have interest for dolphins and killer whales. I know their behaviours, but this is the first time I've actually heard a dolphin commit suicide because of this love they had between the human.
Hmm. Well, I'm not saying it was just that. There were other factors, I think, that caused her to commit suicide. For one thing, she couldn't go swimming in the ocean anymore. When
Mm.
she had been at the amusement park in Florida,
Hmm.
her job was to go out with a riverboat and swim in the open water and jump and take fish from the trainer
Hmm.
who was up on the second deck of the boat about 11 feet above the water holding out fish for her. And sometimes she would swim away for a couple of days and come back. Uh, she had that freedom. And she also had the affection of a male dolphin that she was separated from in the new place.
Hmm.
So there were several reasons I think that she committed suicide. But I'm not the first person to report that. The dolphin trainer for Flipper, Rick O'Barry,
Hmm.
talked about that in his book Behind the Dolphin Smile, which came out about 10 years ago, I think. And he told about how this one dolphin he was very fond of, Kathy, just he was holding her in his arms, and she just let out all the air in her lungs, sunk to the bottom of the pool, and stayed there. And she died. But a lot of dolphin trainers and scientists don't think that dolphins can really do that. But I think they can.
Hmm. Because a lot of people, like you just mentioned there, especially scientists, who think they know everything about dolphins like inside out, when practically they don't. You know.
Well, I think most scientists, if they're ethical people, would admit that there's probably more we don't know about the dolphins than what we do know about the dolphins.
Well, it's quite common, like, isn't it? You know, considering that I found out, you know, dolphins have what larger brain than what we do.
Yeah, they do. Again,
Which
there's
that's something I
scientific.
learnt I didn't know about.
hmm Yeah, there's a lot of very interesting things about dolphins. I believe they have a language too,
Hmm.
like ours. It's just that they speak in frequencies that we can't hear.
Like sonar kind of frequency, isn't it?
Well, they have sonar.
Hmm.
That's the clicking noises they make. Those are echolocation pulses. The language more comes in the whistles and squeaks and things like that that they make.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So you read my book?
Well, I've read some parts of it.
Okay,
I
fair
haven't bought
enough.
it just yet. I've only read about, what, 20 pages of it.
hmm Okay.
But yeah, the videos I've shared on YouTube about me swimming with dolphins in Thailand, right? Yeah, those were in captivity. I understand that people like you don't like dolphins in captivity. But what I'm trying to understand is that what's the difference between dolphins in the wild and captivity? You know, I'm trying to not put myself as an enemy to anyone. I'm trying to keep mutual as possible. It's like
hmm
if I see dolphins in the wild, right? How many times have I heard instances where Japanese, which is most common, right, going out fishing and killing them for
hmm
food, right?
Yeah.
If they're in captivity, right? Yeah, fair enough. They've got a small poo, right? But yet they're well looked after.
What was the last thing you said? If they're in captivity?
Well, they're supposed to be what meant to be like well looked after.
Um,
Well, that's it. Well, obviously, that's my view, but you know, not everyone would agree with that.
I can't agree or disagree with it because I still don't understand. I'm sorry.
It's
I
alright.
had the same problem when I went to visit my relatives in England very many years ago. It took me about a week before I could understand anybody over there, and we're supposedly speaking the same language, right?
Hmm.
Try me one more time, Nathan.
Well, I say, what's your views between captivity and the wild?
What's the difference?
Yeah, how would you view it? You know,
What's the difference between being in prison and being out on the street?
well, there's a big difference between a human being, obviously, but you know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Do you?
sure. As a person who's in prison is going to get like more vulnerable from other prisoners. You know, depending on what they've done. When in
Mm-hmm.
freedom, they can do anything they want. But you know, when it comes to animal wise, I'm thinking, well, if dolphins are in captivity, you know, do they get more protection than what they do in the wild?
No, they don't, because they're not allowed to associate with who they want to. They're forced to associate with the other dolphins that are put in with them, who may have come from other places,
Hmm.
whom they may not know, who may speak different dialects. They have no choice over who to associate with. Plus, think about this. Most dolphins in captivity are in concrete tanks, okay?
Hmm.
They have very smooth, hard walls. Now, what happens when that dolphin makes an echolocation click? It goes through the water from the dolphin's head, it bounces off the wall of the tank, and it comes right back to them. Living in a tank for a dolphin is like you or I living in a room full of mirrors, because the tank walls act like a mirror to the dolphin's echolocation pulse. They can't really use their echolocation in a tank because it echoes all around the tank and it becomes meaningless. So they lose their most important sense. Plus, a lot of these places that they're put into captivity are just bad. Over in Indonesia, they have traveling dolphin shows where these things are dragged around in the back of trucks and perform in little wading pools and things like that. We used to have that kind of stuff back here in America in the 1960s, and that's all gone now. And I know you used to have dolphin shows in Great Britain, too, and they're all gone now, and that's for a reason. The reason is that captivity isn't really good for dolphins. That's even worse for killer whales.
Well, look at the incident at SeaWorld there, when was it Shamu? One of the orcas supposed to kill the trainer?
Yeah, that was Don Brandt show at SeaWorld Orlando, I think. What was your question about that incident?
What, the one at SeaWorld?
Yeah.
Yeah, because apparently, everyone's protesting saying, well, look, one of the trainers being killed by an orca, why can't SeaWorld release all the killer whales back into the wild?
Yeah.
There's a big protest about it.
Nobody wants to put them back into the wild. Okay, and that was tried with Keiko, and people are still arguing about whether that was a good thing or not. What the scientists that I know want to do with them is put them in whale sanctuaries, where they will be taken care, where they will have more room to swim in a natural environment like a bay or a harbor, and people will be there to care for them. A lot of these whales have broken teeth. They have broken teeth because they get so anxious they chew on the bars that separate one cage from another and break their teeth. And when a whale breaks its tooth like that, the cavity becomes full of food and other things. So they have to clean these whales' teeth every day to keep them healthy, or else they develop infections and beach themselves. So nobody's talking about returning killer whales to the wild. We're talking about giving them sanctuaries, places to retire. And we've got one poor killer whale here at not SeaWorld, but the Miami Sea Aquarium that's been in a tank that's too small for her for 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, there are protesters out there every weekend protesting her captivity. Nobody's done anything about her. Even the Marine Mammal Commission says that her tank is too small. But nobody's forcing the aquarium to change it.
It's wrong, that.
Yeah, it is.
40 years and...
And the case you were referring to, the whale that killed its trainer, what was his name?
Shamu. Shamu.
No, all the whales at SeaWorld are called Shamu. When Shamu dies, they name another whale Shamu.
Oh, right.
I'm trying to remember what his real name was, and I can't at the moment. But that was not the first person that he'd killed. He killed a person while he was at a whale holding pen on the west coast of Canada. And then several years before he killed Don Brandt Show, some guy stayed in the park after it closed and got in the killer whale's pool, thinking that he would have a good time with the whales or something, his body was found draped over the whale's snout the next morning, the whale had injured him pretty seriously. But killer whales in the wild don't do this. There's no case of a wild killer whale attacking a human being. So why do whales in captivity behave more aggressively toward us? I think they're fed up. These are not dumb creatures. They're not operating by instinct like a dog. They think about everything they do. They have to think about every breath they take because their breathing is voluntary. It's not involuntary. If you or I go unconscious, we keep breathing. If a dolphin or a killer whale goes unconscious, it suffocates.
Suffocates, though.
Yeah. It doesn't drown, it suffocates.
But again, it's like, do you believe in those articles when you hear about what dolphins saving human beings in the wild?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in that stuff?
I interviewed a man who was saved from a shark attack by a dolphin, and I'll send you the audio file if you want.
Well, if you don't mind. If you don't mind, I'll appreciate that, Malcolm.
I'll do that. Yeah, it's a 6-minute audio file of him talking about being rescued by a dolphin from a shark attack.
Is it on the website? Is it actually on the website, or is that just a file itself?
No, it's not on a website. I couldn't put it up on my Malcolm Brenner website because you have to pay them more to be able to put up an audio file, and I don't have the money right now. I hope to be able to put things like that on my website eventually, yes.
Alright, and I'll find some sort of way to arrange that thing.
Great. But yes, I do believe there are well documented cases of dolphins saving people from drowning or rescuing them from a shark attack. Remember, a couple of years ago in Australia, I think it was Australia, there was a situation where a whole group of swimmers were out in the water, and dolphins began to circle them, trying to herd them together. And the guy who was leading the group didn't know what was happening, so he started to swim for shore, and then he saw that there was like this huge tiger shark circling them outside the ring of dolphins. So the dolphins were protecting these people from the shark until the sharks went away. It's hard to argue with something like that. The dolphins are acting on behalf of the human beings. They're not doing this for themselves. And nobody knows why dolphins have this affection for us. You don't find other wild animals doing that kind of thing.
And that's another reason why, Malcolm, I actually have an interest in dolphins. It's something that you just don't expect, would you, from any animal?
No, you don't. And this behavior is very, very old. It goes back to the ancient stories of the Romans and the Greeks. If you look at your Pliny the Elder, I believe, recorded some stories about dolphins who befriended boys and would swim with them every day in the harbor of a town in North Africa, I think. And the town became so famous that celebrities would come and stay there to see this miracle of the dolphin. And of course, back in those days, the town was expected to host the celebrities and put them up and give them good food and everything like this. And the town elders got so fed up with all these celebrities dropping in that they had the dolphin killed. Yeah, sad story. Human contacts with dolphins generally don't end well for the dolphin, unfortunately. And what I would like to see is dolphins given the status of non-human persons and given a certain amount of legal standing so that somebody can represent them in court and argue for their interests.
Of course, yeah. It's like when I've heard articles about some sort of, I don't know. It's a strange name that someone's named. It's called the Rape Cave. Apparently, I find it hard to believe these sort of facts and stories, Malcolm. But you know how people get raped by these animals, even in the wild or captivity. I just find it hard to believe.
How people get what with these animals?
Well, dolphins in captivity, right? From what I've saw online, right? Apparently, supposed to, what's the word I'm looking for? Masturbate themselves sexually in captivity, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe there's a reason why they do that with humans in captivity and not in the wild?
I think they do it in captivity partly because they're bored and partly because they think it's funny the way we respond. We get all silly and get out of the water when they start to do that.
Well, they can look at the incident you had though. That was a female, right? Which is quite fascinating, to be honest. There's nothing wrong with that, Malcolm. You know what I mean? It's normally the males who do that sort of, kind of romantic bust like that.
I don't know about that. I think it's more obvious with the males because they get an erection. But I think female dolphins are pretty liberated. I think, just based on my experience, that they have a lot of choice about who they want to mate with. One time, Dolly, the female dolphin that courted me, was in a pool with 5 male dolphins.
5?
And 5, yes. When I went in the water with her, she came over to me and started masturbating.
And that's when I found quite interesting about your story, the fact that you refused and she became aggressive against you.
Yeah. Pushed me down to the bottom of the pool.
And how deep was it?
12 feet. That's a little under 4 meters.
I would know because I don't swim much, so I don't know how deep that is. I'm too stupid to know that sort of factor, mate.
Well, we're backward here in America. We haven't switched to the metric system yet. Jimmy Carter tried, but he didn't succeed. So I've heard of people having wild dolphins come onto them sexually.
Right.
But I've never been able to substantiate those stories. A couple of people who told me about it turned out to be liars. They didn't know anything about dolphins.
No.
And I'm not saying it couldn't happen with a wild dolphin, but it's more unlikely to, I think. I think when dolphins are caught and put in captivity, it sort of forces them to deal with us in a way that they don't have to out in the wild. They have to apply their brains to a whole bunch of different things. And one of the things I've observed about captive dolphins is that they're really good about figuring out power structures and hierarchy. Who's at the top, who's down lower in the pecking order. And that's what they do in the wild, too. They form very complex societies that are called fission fusion societies because the dolphins are always, depending upon what they're doing, they're hanging out with different groups of dolphins. The strongest bond in a dolphin's life is not the male-female bond. It's the bond between 2 male dolphins who are buddies. That's usually a lifetime bond. But they'll mate with lots of females. That's not a lifetime bond for them.
Well, do you hear any facts about another article that I somehow found, which is very odd, is that apparently male dolphins seem to masturbate with male killer whales?
Huh.
Do you think that's true or totally made up or what, Michael?
I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't read the article. If you'd send me a copy of the article, I'll check it out.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? How would a male masturbate with a killer whale that's massively bigger than that size?
Yeah.
Well, apparently it's like us human beings. If there's no female contact, well, what do we do? Oh, it's a sensitive way. But what our brains do, we are born to reproduce our civil humans, aren't we?
Right. Right.
And obviously, if there's no way for that to happen, masturbation comes in the mind, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So so I can understand why Dolly came into this situation with you. Was that she's trying to fulfill her sexual needs?
I think she was at first because she was kept pretty much by herself.
So
she was in a sea level. She was in a sea level pen, so she could swim out into the water and do that performance with the riverboat. And they didn't keep any other dolphins in the pen with her, except a couple of other females that they caught later on. And so, yeah, she was sexually deprived, and I think that was why she came on to me at first. But it may have been something in the way I reacted to her, or it might have been that she somehow understood that I was a different type of human being. I had what seemed like these telepathic contacts with her, where she would be able to get in my head and see the world through my eyes, like I was a remote sensing device for her. And she was very astonished by what she saw of the human world. But we would have these arguments, about what she was doing.
Yeah.
And when I was able to see her point of view, it made a lot more sense to me. I think that Dolly was studying human beings. I think she wanted to see how we reacted, because sex is very casual for dolphins. One very famous dolphin scientist named Ken, oh shit, I can't remember his name now, but he said dolphins have sex the way human beings shake hands. It's like that for them. And it's real quick, too. It's over in a few seconds. But the courtship goes on for a long time.
Because they did say the ejaculation is less than a few seconds, if that.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised, because us humans, right, it takes a few minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah. But dolphins it's very quick with, and the reason for that is that if any seawater gets into the female dolphin's vagina, it kills the sperm.
Oh, right. So that's why that's a quick.
Yes, and the female dolphin has a lot of what you might call obstacles to water penetrating in her vagina. She has things called a pseudocervix. The male dolphin can penetrate, but the seawater can't. And so they have sex briefly, but very frequently. Sort of like a goat or a bull.
Interesting, huh?
Yeah. I've learned a lot about them over 40 years.
You probably learned a lot more than I have.
I've been at it longer.
This
Also, there was a great documentary that was shown on the program. What was it called? Spy in the Pod. Did you see that?
No.
Okay. That shows dolphins getting high by finding a puffer fish. You know what those are?
No.
They're called fugu over in Japan. They produce a toxic substance when they're chased or harassed. So these dolphins find one of these fish, and they bat it around a little bit until it starts producing this toxic substance. And then they take the fish very gently in their mouth, and they mouth it. And they swallow this poison that the fish produces, and it gets them high. And this is shown in the TV program. It's really amazing. I always knew dolphins got high, but I didn't know how.
Well, it's like us getting high with laughing gas, you know what I mean? It's that kind of common thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Down here in Florida, the robins that come by in the spring eat the fermented berries on the palm trees, and they get drunk. They fly into windows, they stagger around. They're crazy.
Insane.
A lot of animals will get high if they can.
Yeah.
So what else?
Yeah, the artwork I sent you, right,
Yes, the killer whales, yes.
and the dolphins, which also are getting made by the same artist, right? What's your view? How would you express yourself if you were in that situation?
What's my view on the artwork?
Yeah, and how would you express if you're that person, right?
Yeah.
Right. Put yourself into that person's head and that kind of view, right? How would you express yourself in that situation?
With a killer whale?
Yes. I said to the therapist person, right, that's obviously me, right? I expressed my feelings saying, well, the orca's calm, I've got her consent, there's no blood and gore, right? So there's no abuse there. You know,
Right.
we're both relaxed. You know, she's got a flippers out on the side of her, and she's pretty happy. You know, I'm just enjoying the time. I'm giving what she wants. I haven't
Yeah.
rejected saying no. I'm not having consensual sex with you, woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you said on that documentary. You know, if this was a woman, would I say no? I was in the same boat. I thought, well, no. If she wanted it, just accept it. You know, this is the only opportunity they've been given.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, did you do that artwork or did somebody else do the
I
artwork?
paid someone to do it for me.
Okay. I thought it was interesting. If I was in that situation and I had some privacy, I would definitely go ahead, but I'm not the young, strong guy I was in my 20s anymore. I'm 66, almost 67, man. It takes a lot out of you. I mean, I was exhausted in my 20s trying to make love with the dolphin. I don't know if I could be capable of it now.
Well,
But
the time will come eventually, mate. Don't worry. You know, just don't let anyone take you the wrong way. You know.
right,
Yeah, I just find it astonishing how people call you a zoophile and a pedophile because of these animals. I thought, well, hang on a second, right? This dolphin is the one who started it all. You didn't exactly get paid to do this sort of duty. You're paid as a
yeah.
freelancer to take photographs for a book,
I wasn't ever paid actually.
weren't you?
I never paid for taking those photographs. No, the book never went through, and the woman was a jerk. But no, I never gave the dolphin so much as a fish. I never gave her any tangible reward for doing anything. The biggest reward I ever gave her was when we started playing a game of catch with a rubber ball, and I was trying to use that to shape her sounds, the sounds she was making. I wanted her to say her name, Dolly. And eventually I got her to give me a sound that sounded very much like Dolly. But what she did then was she turned the tables on me. And somehow I got the idea that she wanted me to repeat the sound that she was making. And then she sort of led me, by changing the sound a little bit at a time, to make the sound she had made at first when I was trying to get her to say her name. So I got her to make the sound that I wanted her to make, and then she got me to make the sound that she wanted me to make. And when I made that sound, she got very excited, and she went splashing around the pool and throwing water in the air, and obviously I had done the right thing, but I didn't know what I said. I think most probably it was her name for herself, because we do know that dolphins name themselves now. They develop a unique signature whistle. And a male dolphin's whistle sounds like his mother's whistle.
Oh, really?
But a female dolphin's whistle is different. And that's, I think, so that the females will know if they're mating with somebody that they're related to. Because obviously inbreeding is not good, regardless of what species you're in. See, there's so much going on with these animals that we don't know about because it's below the water, and we just can't see what they're doing a lot of the time. One of the scientists I admire the most is Denise Herzig. She has been conducting a study down in the Bahamas, diving with dolphins every day, videotaping them and recording their sounds and their behavior for more than 30 years, if you can believe that. She's now gotten some guys at a university to develop a little device that she can wear on her chest underwater. It's waterproof. And this both records the dolphin sounds, and then she can use this device to play a sound to the dolphins. And what she's trying to do is develop an artificial language that she can use and the dolphins can use to identify common objects. Say she brings a scarf into the water for the dolphins to play with. There's a sound that's associated with the scarf that she can make and that the dolphin can also make. I don't know how that experiment is going right now, but it sounds very interesting.
Well, that's a first.
So anything else? Anything else, Nick?
Well, is there anything else you want to tell me about this love affair?
Well, I wrote a whole book about it, so I wouldn't have to tell people over and over again.
Well, just tell what you want to tell. Just tell what you want to tell.
Just tell what?
Just tell what you want to tell. Like, how, what was it like? Because people that nowadays, right, don't get the opportunity to that.
Right. It was very strange, really. It's very strange, first of all, to be in the water and almost helpless with a creature that is stronger and more powerful than you are, that can outswim you easily. You're at its mercy. It's like being in a cage with a bear or a tiger, because that's really the level that dolphins operate at. They're predators. They're one of the top predators in their environment. So you have to trust the dolphin. You have to put yourself at their mercy and say, okay, if I behave myself, this creature isn't going to harm me. And I did that with Dolly. And the courtship was also very strange. I think if I had not been in a public place with people coming and going, I would have pursued it much more enthusiastically. I wouldn't have felt so inhibited. And that's certainly the way I felt after the park closed down and everybody was gone except me and her and this other male dolphin. Also, it felt very strange to me because I knew I was a zoophile. I knew I was attracted to animals. But I was 20, and I didn't want to be that way. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be attracted to women. And what happened when I brought a girl that I was trying to develop a relationship with, I suggested I take her swimming with the dolphins down at the park. She got all excited about that. She thought it would be wonderful. Well, when she got in the water with Dolly pretty much took a look at her and mashed her snout into the poor girl's face. scared the shit out of her. I had to jump in the water and pull the dolphin off of her. And I thought to myself, okay, this dolphin is behaving jealously, but how does this dolphin know that this woman is my girlfriend and not my sister? Somehow the dolphin knew that this was a romantic interest for me, and she was jealous. Things like that convinced me.
A dolphin to be jealous against a human being?
Yeah, she was jealous of this girl that I brought down there.
That's very uncommon, that.
Yeah. It shows a lot of insight on the part of the dolphins into what we're doing. I think they know a lot more about us, frankly, than we do about them.
No, of course, yeah. There's no doubt about that. You know.
Right. Right.
I mean, surely, you know, there must have been more of a good reason, Malcolm, why she did this to you. Surely, you know. From what you just said today, in your, you know, in the previous chat, you know, that she was isolated.
Somewhat.
Somewhere around there. That's probably what might have caused it. Maybe she wanted, I don't know, some attention.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
And maybe that's why. And maybe that's. I'm not saying fully, but maybe that's probably why she came to you for attention. You know.
I think she came to everybody for attention, but most people just sort of giggled and went away. I stayed around, and she decided that maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe she had always wanted to have sex with a human being. We don't really understand what sex means to a dolphin. It may mean something very different than it does to us.
Well,
but what I do know is that we developed a very strong affection for each other as well. This was not just a sexual experience, like banging a sheep or something. She developed a very strong affection for me, and she showed that by changing her courtship. You know, when I tell people that the dolphin courted me, they say, yeah, I've got a dog at home that'll hump my leg, too. Well, the thing is, the dog isn't humping your leg because it wants sex. It's humping your leg to show that it's dominant over you. And the dog can't really change that behavior.
No.
The dolphin did. At first, she was very rough with me.
Yeah, you said
because
that.
Dolphin courtship in the wild is very rough. They splash around and ram each other and do stuff like that. And that's fine for them, but it doesn't go over well with a human being.
No.
So when she realized that she wasn't getting anywhere, she changed her tactics. She became very gentle, very delicate. She would open her mouth and run her teeth very lightly along my arms and legs. And that sensation just was amazing. It was very erotic.
So what was the teeth like when she actually did it against your arm? I mean, what did it feel? You know, was there any emotions you were getting from it?
Oh, yeah. Her emotions or my emotions?
Well, yours. You know, the way she was doing it nice and gently across your arm with her teeth, considering how much damage those things can do. You know?
Yeah.
What did it feel? Like, what were you actually feeling when she was doing it?
I was feeling a very light scraping sensation from her teeth, but emotionally I was astonished and very deeply moved, because it showed that she was thinking about how I was feeling. She was adjusting to my needs as a human being. And that requires a lot of insight on the part of the dolphin. This is what scientists call theory of mind. You and I, because of our experience with other human beings, can make a judgment about how a human being is going to react if we do something. And that's called a theory of mind. I presume a dolphin has a theory of mind with other dolphins too, but what she showed there was that she could have a theory of mind with me. she could guess how I would react if she behaved in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And she was right about it. And one of the things I noticed, I don't know if you've ever read any of John Woolley's books about dolphins. He was the first person to try communicating with them back in the 1960s. But this young woman that he had, Margaret Howe, trying to teach a dolphin English, she said that the dolphin did the same thing with her, except she was afraid of his teeth. So what he did was he took a rubber ball and he held it in his jaws so he couldn't close his jaws and bite her. And then he would rub his teeth on her arm or leg. And people think that's silly or something. It's not. It's very profound. It shows that the dolphin has an idea about how you're going to react. It takes imagination to do that. It's really not something that a dog or another domesticated animal can do.
No.
They only react instinctively. And I was floored, frankly. I was floored a lot of the time by what she did. Sometimes it would take me hours to figure out why she did what she did. I'd go home from the park thinking about the way she'd behaved, and hours later, this light would go on in my head. Oh, that's why she was behaving that way. It's because I did this, you know? That's really about all I can say.
Like I said, Malcolm, there has been a lot of people who seem to hate you a lot for what you've done, but there again, it's in the past, you know. If you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm reading an interesting book about Sophia right now. And I think people hate the whole notion of humans having sex with other animals. They don't hate it for any rational reason.
No.
They hate it for a visceral reason, a gut level reason. And I think the reason is it reminds them that we're not that much superior to the other animals. People talk about animals as if they were something different from us, but they're not. We're animals too. We just have delusions of grandeur.
Well, it's like when I told a guy who I meet every Tuesday with my therapy session, you know, if I was to actually have the same incident like you did in the past, you know, it would take me God knows how long for me to take the extra measure for me to fulfill my needs. Because I've been a single person for 24 years of my life. Right? I've had incidents at school when my own classmates would call me a pedophile because they thinking, right, I was dating a 6-year-old girl when in fact I was not.
Right.
I was volunteered by the staff, right, to escort her from the bus into her class. It was a volunteering session, what I was doing.
Right.
She had the same disability I had. We built a friendship. And she said to me, which is an astonishing way, she wouldn't have kids with me.
She said
she wants to have kids with me. She wants to have a family with me. And she
that's just a 6-year-old girl talking. That's just silliness.
Well, what's my mind thinking? I promised her a future when she was old enough.
That you would have a family with her.
Yeah, when she was old enough, you know, we kept it together, you know, as friends, and then when she's old enough to understand what the consequences would be, you know, that she would understand. But somehow it got late, I got blackmailed for it, and the school took it too far. My own school that I went to that was designed for special needs. People like me who are disabled in the UK, you know, that's what that school was designed for. But obviously, apparently, the school took it way too far beyond the boundaries. They think that I was a pedophile and a rapist. I thought, wait a second, right? I have not done anything wrong to her.
Exactly. They better prove that before they started making accusations like that.
Well, yeah.
But what were the consequences for you? Did you have to leave that school, or did you? I mean, at one time I was accused of being a pedophile too, and I had to take a lie detector test with the Oregon State Police.
They
That
took it
was
that
very
far.
frightening.
They literally took it that far for you. Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. It turned, of course, the allegations were false,
Hmm.
and they dropped me from the investigation after I passed the lie detector test. But I know the feeling that you're talking about because it's very frightening. It's like being accused of being a witch in the old days, you know? How can you prove them wrong?
Well, that's what I mean. Even though they didn't do any tests about it, but they pressured me so much that they made me look like a total liar. You know, so they suspended me from my volunteering and to and also I can't have contact with her. I wasn't allowed to sit next to her or even see her anymore.
That's terrible.
And that's how
With
bad.
no proof.
That's how bad my school was. That's how they treated me. They treated me like a prisoner.
Yeah, that's not decent. That's not fair.
So why do you think why my sexual feelings has gone towards animals? Because it seems like I can build a relationship more better without these consequences from my own school.
Yeah.
If the animal wants to, I don't know, get himself masturbated at me, I'll let him. You know, I have you know, no obligation
Hmm.
against him.
Right.
Why should the law take it in an offensive way, saying, well, this is wrong, animals and humans shouldn't be together, doing these sort of activities?
They take it wrong because it has been in the Bible for 4,000 years, saying that humans should not have sex with animals. And if they do, you should kill them and you should kill the animal too. That's in the book of Leviticus. And that statement has influenced Western culture for 4,000 years. So we have this very deeply ingrained idea that this is not just wrong but sinful. It's a wrong against God, and God knows you don't want any wrongs against God. Now, in other countries like Japan,
Hmm.
they take sex with animals a lot less seriously. It's in their myths, it's in their stories, it's in some of their town histories too. There's one town in Japan that was supposedly about to be overrun by an army led by a talking horse. And, well, it's a story, it's a mythology. And supposedly, one young woman from the town saved the town by going out and offering herself to the horse and having sex with it. And in Japan, foxes are often thought to be shapeshifters that can assume human form and have sex with people. Down in South America, the river dolphins, which are called boto,
Hmm.
are thought to change into human form and come ashore in order to have sex with young women. These myths are still prevalent in other parts of the world. In fact, in Colombia, there's a town or a region where the young men are expected to have their first sexual experience with a donkey. It's very common.
A donkey.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. They think it's better down there for a young man to have sex with a donkey than with a prostitute because a prostitute will give you a disease. A donkey probably won't.
Now that's another theory as well. The fact that it doesn't matter if it's human or animal, if anything you do that sexually
Mm-hmm.
intercourse or not or what or not right, you're still bound to get the disease, regardless.
Well, if somebody else who was diseased had had sex with the donkey first, you might get the disease. But I was just reading about this yesterday, and uh, it made an interesting read.
Hmm.
Well, listen, Nathan, we've been online for about an hour now. I had to get up very early to take a friend to work this morning. So if you'll excuse me, I think I'm going to be logging off and going back to bed to get a little extra sleep. Is that okay?
That's how I go.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about before I go?
Well, I don't know. If there is, it'll probably be tomorrow then, no doubt.
Okay.
Right.
It's been very nice talking, Nathan. I'll look forward to seeing this on your website.
Right, you too, Michael.
Take it easy and have a good day.
Take care, Michael.
So long.
Bye.